honored to be here today. I'm Adam Chen. I am the General Manager of Analogix Semiconductor. I have 30 years plus experience in the semiconductor industry. But really, I want to say, I'm not a coder, and I don't work for an AI company. But what I wanted to share with everyone today is how I use AI to improve my business productivity. I'm going to show the exact steps that I'm taking. So first off, we already know that chat has replaced search, right? I mean, we already know this. AI has already fundamentally changed the way we work. Just recently, I had a broker give me a prospectus, try to sell me an investment. So I just asked him for the prospectus. I dumped it into the AI and say, hey, model this if I had invested in 2008, what would happen? And it's great. It told me hey, how it would compare to the S&P 500. That's super powerful. But really, we want the AI to help us to do things that we couldn't do before. But before we can do that, we need to know its limitations. So AI is really good, but it has several limitations. First, LLMs, large language models, are probabilistic, not precise. You wouldn't want them to fill out your tax form. They're not that good at math. You couldn't use a LLM for a chess engine. I'll bet you could beat the ChatGPT at chess. So another big problem with LLMs, they don't know their own weaknesses, right? They can be super confident at things they have no idea on. And like any tool, we need to learn how to use it. So I would recommend, and this is how I deal with it, I would recommend working with your AI like you would a summer intern. Don't overwhelm it with things. If you wanted to do something, be very clear and precise, exactly what you wanted to do. If it's a big task, break it down into step by step. Don't give it too much information. And if you know the formula that it needs to use, just tell them the formula. Don't expect, you got to help the AI out. One other thing I want to mention is when working with AI, sometimes you will need to restart the prompt, right? It's probably sometimes better to restart the prompt than to keep asking questions or asking it to improve things. You can think of it like when you are working on a tough problem and you're stuck. Sometimes you need a break. And I guess maybe, it's good for the AI to have a fresh start as well. So what are some of the problems I'm trying to have AI solve? So in our work, I work for a semiconductor company. We make chips. We've got hundreds of chips. Each of these hundreds of chips, we have hundreds of subcomponents. Each subcomponent has a spec and a cost and so forth. So we have this giant spreadsheet, right, of all of our products and how much they cost and what their vendor is and so forth. So one of the things I've done recently, I took this big spreadsheet, I dumped it into one of the AIs, and I said, hey, look, I want to know how does the cost look? The specific question I put down is, compare the package size of our chips to the price that we're paying for that chip. So it made out a little chart, and it's a little bit hard to see it here, but basically, two products jumped out right away and say, hey, these cost way too much. So then I followed up with another prompt and say, hey, make a table about the biggest outliers. Now I have actionable intelligence. I can go to my vendor and say, hey, what's wrong with those chips? Why are you overcharging me? Right? This is real things that I can do to improve my business. But frankly, this is still the traditional prompt response format. Let's do more. Apple likes to say they have an app for that. And they do. There's like 2 million apps on the App Store. And sometimes we need an app, not just chat. It may be because you don't want to memorize a series of prompts to have to use every time, so the app can be simpler. It could be that you are doing some calculation, so you want a real answer, not just a vibe answer. So we would need an app would sometimes be better. So how do we build an app if you're not a programmer? Well, the first thing we need to do is change our thinking. We need to shift from how to what. What is the problem we are trying to solve? So let's come up with a example here. Just recently, there was an apartment for sale, $500,000. So I want to buy an apartment. It costs $500,000. I figure I can probably get $20,000 worth of rent every year. And after a few years, I can sell it at a profit, $600,000. Is that a good investment? Let's make an app for that. To make an app, you need two tools. And this is, again, not for developers, but for business people. The first tool, of course, you need is AI. And I recommend Google Gemini. It's free, it's really smart, and you just use your Google account to log in. I would give a note here. What we're doing is called vibe coding, and vibe coding is just not possible with older tools. The second tool you need, very simple, very old school, is a free web hosting service. And I recommend neocities.org. You go log in for free, and your website will be your username, neocities.org. Very simple. That's the only tools you'll need. So we can start asking Gemini, hey, I want an app that tells me whether something is a good investment. So I might start with something like, well, what are good metrics for investments? Give me the formulas for net present value, for internal rate of return. But the key point is, provide the source code in a single file for a mobile website to calculate the return on investment. And you can see here, Gemini is just going to give you tons of code. And that's kind of intimidating, particularly for non-coders. But you don't need to understand any of it. You just need to know how to press the copy button. I take that, I go to the web hosting service, NeoCities in this case, create a new file. We can call it ROI.html, return on investment. I paste my code in and press save, and then it's going to be available on, again, your username.neocities.org. So in this example, on the left here is what it looks like on my phone. This is just directly copy and pasted into the web hosting service. To add it to your phone, use the share button, and you're going to create a little icon on your phone. Now, it looks and acts just like any other app on your phone. It works great, but it didn't look all that good. And maybe you want to make some improvements. So again, I just asked Gemini, hey, how about making it look nicer? How about adding some color? How about making it so that instead of having 10 years of returns, I can put any number of years? So again, you just take the code, copy it to NeoCities. You don't even need to update the shortcut, because the nice thing about a web app is that any updates happen in the cloud, and it's automatically updated. You don't need to update your app on your phone. And one thing to note, AIs can hallucinate. So you should check its work, sometimes maybe with Excel. If you don't want to do that, you can ask the AI to check its own work. But again, I want to caution you, if you're asking the AI to check its own work, you might want to start a new prompt, or maybe even a different AI agent. Because maybe like some people it will try to justify its previous work. All right, so we're talking about buying an apartment. Is this a good investment? Now, AI has created a tool. I can figure out the return on investment. But we need to make it actionable, right? So I had some more further prompts for it. Hey, is this a good investment? Tell me if this is a good investment, a bad investment, or what. And tell me if it's not good, how to make it good. So if you look here on this example, and this is all straight from the AI, it told me my apartment was a poor decision. And it told me why. It said it beats inflation, but only marginally. But more critically, it tells me, hey, if I bid $326,000 on this, this would make it a great investment. Now I know what to do. I think there's some real estate agents here, So now I know what I should be bidding on those investment properties. So 3 steps we talked about. Number 1, describe to the agent describe to AI exactly what you want. Number 2, copy it over to a web hosting service. And number 3, you can add a shortcut to your phone. Now, once we're able to do that, we're actually able to create more than just little simple apps. Some of the things I'm doing is I create file utilities. And I know many of you have experienced this. You get an email, and there's a screenshot in there, and it's way too big, right? You can't even see it. So you want to shrink this screenshot. So simply, I told AI, create a web app that shrinks pictures. So now I created a web app. I can drag and drop my picture in, and it just shrinks the picture. I can send that out instead of the huge picture. Similarly, converting data. I have tons of data, but they're in a wrong format. So maybe I have Microsoft Word document as my input, but my output, I want in Excel. And maybe I want to modify the data a little bit. I just tell the AI, hey, what does my input look like? What is the output that I want? And how do I want the data transformed? It will create a program that will automatically do this. This is more powerful than just asking the AI to do it itself. Because remember, the AI is probabilistic. It might make a mistake. But once it's in code, it's fixed. I have tons of these, I have probably 50 of these little one-off apps that I've created because I need to change some data or I need to modify some files. And if you think that the 3-step method is a little bit cumbersome, there's actually a place called websim.ai. It's a one-shot method. And so I just put in here the prompt I used for the return on investment, and it gives me the code on the right-hand side. So I think AI helps us redefine what's possible. And you've heard this term. You probably won't lose your job to AI, but you may lose your job to somebody who uses AI. So let's be on the right side of that equation. Thank you.